started. So if you haven't already taken your seats, please do so, and we will worship together. Feel free to stand or sit back, whatever makes you most comfortable. But if you want to clap along, we're just going to sing about how good God is.
Wonderful, so wonderful is your unfailing love. Your cross has spoken mercy over me. No eye has seen, no ear has heard, no heart could fully know how glorious, how beautiful you are. Beautiful one, I love you. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing. Powerful, so powerful, your glory fills the skies. Your mighty works displayed for all to see. The beauty of your majesty awakes my heart to see. How marvelous, how wonderful you are. Beautiful one, I love you. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing. Beautiful one, I love. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing. Open my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. 'Cause nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. You open my eyes to your wonders anew. You captured my heart with this love. 'Cause nothing on earth is as beautiful as you. Beautiful one, I love. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing. Beautiful one, I love you. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing.
My soul,
My soul, my soul must sing. My soul, my soul must sing. My soul, my soul must sing. Beautiful one. My soul, my soul must sing. My soul, my soul must sing. My soul, my soul must sing. Beautiful one, beautiful one, I love you. Beautiful one, I adore. Beautiful one, my soul must sing.
thank you guys. It's Mother's Day. To those who gave birth this year to their first child, we celebrate with you. To those who lost a child this year, we mourn with you. To those who are in the trenches with little ones every day and wear the badge of food stains, we appreciate you. To those who experienced loss through miscarriage or failed adoptions, we mourn with you. To those who walk the hard path of infertility, fraught with pokes and prods, tears and disappointment, we walk with you. Forgive us when we say foolish things. We don't mean to make this harder than it is. To those who are foster moms, mentors, and spiritual mothers, we need you. To those who have warm and close relationships with their children, we celebrate with you. And to those who have disappointment, heartache, and distance with your kids, we sit with you. To those who lost their mother this year, we grieve with you. To those who experienced abuse at the hands of your own mother, we acknowledge your experience. To those who are single and long to be married and mothering your own children, we mourn that life has not turned out the way that you have longed for it to be. To those who step parent, we walk with you on these complex paths. To those who have placed children up for adoption, we commend you for your selflessness and remember how you hold that child in your heart. To those who are pregnant with a new life, both expected and surprising, we anticipate with you. This Mother's Day, we walk with you. Mothering is not for the faint of heart, and you are warriors among us. So today, we remember you and we honor you. God, I'm so grateful that you look at each one of our stories, all so different, all so varied, God, and that you meet right there with us in the midst of them, right in the beauty and in the pain. That you are a God who is close to the brokenhearted, and you are also a God of victories and celebration. God, give us eyes to see others the way that you do, to meet with them in their moments of both beauty and pain. Help us to walk with each other and to celebrate and to mourn each other's stories, God, the way that you do. We love you for not leaving us to our own devices, God, for not leaving us behind or forgetting us, but for staying with us on the mountains and in the valleys, God. And this morning, we just open ourselves up to the rest of that journey, and we invite you into it, and we ask that you would come, be part of our stories, help us write them. We need you, God, and we love you. Oh, this pain, I wonder if I'll ever find my way. I wonder if my life could really change at all. Oh, this earth, could all that is lost ever be found? And could a garden come up from this ground at all? Sing this together. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of us. All around, hope is springing up from this old ground, and out of chaos, life is being found in you. And you make beautiful things. You make beautiful things out of the dust. You make beautiful things. You make beautiful things Isaiah 60 says, "Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you." See, darkness covers the earth, and thick darkness is over its people. But the Lord rises upon you, and his glory appears over you. Lift up your eyes, look about you. All assemble and come to you. Then you will look and be radiant, and your heart will throb and swell with joy. Although you've been forsaken and hated, with no one traveling through, I will make you the everlasting pride and the joy of all generations. The Spirit of the Sovereign Lord is on me, because the Lord has anointed me to preach good news to the poor. He sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the captives, and release from darkness for the prisoners, to proclaim the year of his favor, to comfort all who mourn, to provide for those who grieve in Zion, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. They will be called oaks of righteousness, a planting of the Lord, for the display of his splendor. For just as the soil makes the sprout come up and a garden causes seeds to grow, so the sovereign Lord will make righteousness and praise spring up before all nations.
Come to the water, all who are thirsty. Come and drink. Come to the table, all who are hungry. Come and feast. Those who are weary, those who are needy, come receive. Come to the river, come to the river. Taste and see good. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. You're good to me. Ooh. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. You're good to me. I will. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. I will taste and see that you are good. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. You're good to me. Oh, my soul thirsts for you, and you alone. Oh, my soul thirsts for you, and you alone. Oh, my soul thirsts for you, you alone. Oh, my soul thirsts for you, you Come to the water, all who are thirsty. Come and drink. Come to the table, all who are hungry. Come and feast.
Let's stay standing just a couple more minutes and not miss this moment. It's Mother's Day today, and many of you know that I was adopted. And so historically, Mother's Day can be a little complicated for me because I can't help but think of there's a biological mom out there somewhere that I've never met. And a lot of feelings wrapped up in that that stem from abandonment and perceived rejection and all of that stuff that goes along with it. And a few years ago, I realized that I had taken all that hurt and heaped all of that on my adopted mom. I had heaped expectations, I had heaped pain, I had heaped disappointment, all of that onto my adopted mom. And I just remember God working on my heart over time and just saying, let it go. That's not hers to carry. And God saying to me, it's not mine to carry, it's His to carry. And I realized that those things that I had been focusing on, the rejection, the abandonment, that only God could heal that stuff. My adopted mom, she wasn't equipped to handle that. And I had to take that to God. That was His invitation for me, to take that to Him and allow Him to do what only He can do, what us humans can't, no matter what our roles are or our positions are. And so I don't know what that might be for you today, whatever expectations or disappointment or pain you've heaped on somebody else or even onto yourself that's not yours to carry or theirs to carry. Jesus is offering an invitation saying, will you let me take this? Because he can handle it. So let's pray, and whatever that might be for you, let's answer that invitation right now. Jesus, we acknowledge that life is hard, relationships are hard, families can be unhealthy. There have been situations in the past or now that are really difficult. And God, I just want to come to you and confess that I heap that stuff on myself. I heap it on other people. And God, I let that go and I give it to you. I say I trust you. You can handle it. God, only you can satisfy those things that I long for, like total acceptance, unconditional love, grace, mercy. So God, I give that all to you in exchange for your love and your grace and your mercy, your forgiveness. God, help us to see invitations that you extend to us. God, help us to say yes. Help us to exchange ashes for beauty, despair for joy. God, help us to trust you, that you are who you say you are, and that we are your kids and you are continually calling us in your love. We love you. In Jesus' name, amen. You can be seated. Thank you, band. Welcome. Good morning. Welcome to New Hope. Oh, so thank you, Brett. Anybody else? Good morning. Good morning. Thank you. We're so glad you're here today. We're especially glad if you're visiting us for the first or second time. As you came in, you should have received a program. If not, we have our ushers coming up. Just raise your hand if you did not get one of those, and they will hand one of those to you. I only have one announcement for you today, and it's a big one. It's an important one. We're having our very first starting point class 1 week from today, next Sunday the 21st at 9 a.m. If you've been coming here for a while, or you're brand new and you're thinking, what is this New Hope thing? What does it mean to be involved here? What is the history? What's the story of this place and these people? This is the class for you. This is a way to learn more about New Hope's story, where we came from, where we feel like God is calling us forward, this whole one church, two locations, our values, our mission. You can get all of that at this class. So again, it's next Sunday, the 21st, 9 a.m. to 10:30 a.m. So just come a little early to church and you can attend that and then come to service right afterwards. To sign up for the class, if you could take the handout, there should be a box that says starting point on there. If you can check that off, put your name and your email address, we'll get you registered for that class. You can also, I believe, sign up for that on our website at newhopechristian.org. So I would love for all of you, if you haven't attended that class before, or you just need a refresher, come join us. It's going to be a great time. So part of our mission here, or actually our whole mission here at New Hope, is love God, create community, engage the world, as you see on the banners around you, in the spirit of creating community and truly connecting with each other. If everybody could stand up and say good morning to the people around you.
like that music. So, well, good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. That was good. Y'all, Karen got you ready, so y'all are like on it. So, well, it's great to be with you, and I'm really excited for today. That was man, everyone take a deep breath. That was like emotional and powerful, and it's so interesting. Mother's Day, I think. Culturally, it's sort of this day where everyone just sort of, it's a celebration, right? I mean, maybe we're even having meals and things afterwards where you're going to do mother and you're writing cards. And so it's sort of this celebration. But what we've been trying to name in this service so far is often sort of just below the surface of that is a lot of emotion. There's a lot of life is hard and family is really hard. And so just in that, it's it's sort of like, it's always, the answer to Mother's Day is always like, it's awesome and it's complicated, and that's just part of it. I think that's what we've been trying to name. So I hope that resonated. And I mean, it seemed like it did. I was sitting on the front row, but I could feel, isn't it interesting how you pick up sort of vibes? And it's interesting. So anyway, yeah, I'm really excited about today. And because it is Mother's Day, I think it's awesome. A wonderful, wonderful thing. So I did want to mention before I kind of jump in to our whole series and where we're going today, is just mention sort of second what Karen was saying about starting point. Just if you have been coming for a while and you're thinking like, you know what, I like this place. I like these people. I need to make this place home. And that's just a great sort of way that you can, almost like it's like raising your hand and just saying, hey, by the way, I'm like here for the long haul. And so I just encourage you to attend that next week. And so as you saw in the video, we're returning to a series. If you were here prior to Easter, then we were in this series called New Hope Values, who we are and how we live. And so we sort of hit the pause button on that in order to go into Easter and do that series. And now we're sort of jumping back because we covered 4 values previously, and now we have 4 more. And so we'll be taking a week over the next 4 weeks to sort of unpack some of these. And so this is a great, I think it's a great series just because it starts to name these things in the community that you've often sort of noticed, but you don't necessarily have language for. Like, I feel like there's this value for this thing, and what is that? And so that's sort of what we're doing in this series, is starting to just sort of give language to it and name it. And so I'm excited to begin to unpack some of those. So today, the specific value that we're sort of honing in on is community. Community. If you've been around here any length of time, it probably isn't a shocker to find out, these people value community and relationship. I mean, obviously, like last week, we had our whole meal where we eat together after the service, and which is something we do the first Sunday of the month. And that's, an expression of this. And so the title of my message today is Triangles, and hopefully that will make sense as we go. But kind of where I wanted to, I guess, begin is just looking at this. This is a passage, and what we're going to do, I'm just going to read this, and then I actually have a summary statement. It just sort of summarizes, it captures this value we have for community. But I wanted to start with our text for today. So this is Matthew chapter 18, verse 15, and it says this: "If your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. And if he listens to you, you have won your brother." It's short and sweet today. If your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. And of course, the implication there is sister as well. So if your brother or sister sins, go show him his fault in private. If he listens to you, you have won your brother. And then the passage, this summary statement, we can go ahead and put that up. It says this: "At its core, the kingdom of God is relational because God himself is a loving relationship." You tracking? Of Father, Son, and Spirit. Therefore, love should be the first word on our lips and also the last. And everything we say and do should begin and end with loving relationships. It is the quality of our relationships with others, particularly those we disagree with. I like that. Does that seem relevant in our culture at all? I don't know, maybe. That is the best reflection of our love for God. Community is the testing ground of our faith. We will seek to live out healthy relationships with heartfelt intensity, especially when we don't agree. This sort of summary reminds me of something that was, I think, Dostoevsky, who he said, basically, one of his characters in the novel says, I love humanity. It's people I can't stand. And that's often true, that all of us love the idea of community. Oh, yes, community. We all need community. It's great, But like the actual lived experience of that is like, oh wow. It's more challenging than we thought. Often we love the idea of community. We just sort of don't like the actual community God has given us. And this is often why we have sort of chronic church hopping, for example, and friendships too. We sort of jump from friendship to like, well, that worked for a year, next, and it's sort of this thing because it's really hard. That's just, it's just how sort of community goes. And so kind of where I wanted to begin, I want to sort of summarize like all of community. This is my like entire message in just a few statements, and it's this. Ones are boring. Twos are unstable, but threes are spectacular. All right, so that's the whole thing. Ones are boring, twos are unstable, threes are spectacular. Now there is sort of a somewhat common sort of scene in my house where I have three kids. And often, not always, but occasionally, maybe I'll say that. Occasionally, two of them are gone. Maggie's got them, and they're off. And that means I'm left with the one. And the one is often playing. Like, they're in the room, they got their toy, whatever, and I hear the, kind of bumping, and they're in the room, they're playing, and I'm sitting on the couch, and I'm just basking. I'm basking in the quiet of the one. See, ones are kind of wonderful in that they're in it. Now, here's the thing. This lasts for about 5 minutes. So I'm sitting there on the couch. I'm just listening. I'm just soaking in the quiet of the one. And inevitably, all of a sudden, I feel something on my shirt. It's like, something. I think it's the dog. No, of course it's not the dog. It's the one. The one has showed up, and the one is tugging on my shirt. And the one, inevitably, maybe you can guess what the one says. The one looks at me, the eyes, the mouth is sort of draped open like that. And they're just like, I'm bored. I'm bored. Now, what I say on the outside, what I respond is, look, hey, bro, it's not my job to make your life interesting. Like, I brought you into the world, here you are. Okay, I didn't bring you in. I got to be careful on Mother's Day, right? I contributed something, almost nothing. All right, you came into the world, and that you're welcome. But on the inside, that's what I say to them, right? Like, go play, figure out your life. We all have to figure out our life. But in the inside, if I'm honest, I empathize with them because here's the truth: ones are boring. It is. There's no one to play with. There's no one to talk to. There's no one to relate to. Even in our own lives, often some of it, especially the introverts among us, don't mind living as the one. But the days go by and eventually it's kind of okay. Anyone there? Because that's the thing, ones are boring. So at first we had a one, so then we decided, I know what we'll do, we'll bring a two into the world. We'll have two, and then all our problems will be solved. And now we solved one problem and created another, right? So we solved the boredom thing, problem solved. No more boredom. But here's the thing, I stumbled into this ancient and terrible evil, this malice. It is called, I'm a little bit dramatic. We stumbled into this thing. It's called, I don't know, it goes by many names, but perhaps the term that just sort of captures it is this rivalry. Rivalry. This is we got a definition. Rivalry, competition for the same objective or for superiority in the same field. See, this is the problem, is when you have the one and you bring another one and now you have the two, they desire the same thing, but there's only one of that thing, So for example, whether it's something as dumb as like a water bottle, and one has the water bottle is getting the drink, and the other one comes up, and what happens? What does the other say? Just grabs the water bottle. My water bottle. And the other says, whoa, no, my water bottle. And they say, no, my water. What's going on here? This twos are inherently unstable, right? It's just the way the world works. Now, we laugh at those silly children, silly kids. How could they? I'm glad that we all grow up and mature and move beyond. Right, because here's the truth. We are, all of us, doing this all the time. Mine. Now it's maybe not the water bottle, right? We're not that embarrassing, but it's my possession, my position. It's mine, my land, right? Because this starts playing out at like epic proportions. My land, my law, my leadership, mine. It's mine. No, it's mine. No, it's mine. And you've got, twos are inherently unstable, and it leads to rivalry, leading to emotional, psychological, and often physical violence. I mean, it's as old as Cain and Abel. See, because twos are inherently unstable. However, what does that have to do with community? Well, here's the thing. With the introduction of a third, something magical happens. You see, with three, you have a community, right? So if you have a one and you add another one, it's that. But when you add a third, somehow it starts to sort of stabilize things. You see, community, with the introduction of a third, you have community, and it seems to me God really likes community. Threes in particular. Have you noticed God has a thing for threes? It's communal. And so, for example, we've got a few examples. Number one, God himself is community. I mentioned this in the whole opening, right? The summary statement. God is community. We have this passage from Matthew. It's chapter 28, verse 19. This is Jesus. He's telling the disciples, hey, go into all the world and baptize in the name of God. That's what he says. In the name of the one. He doesn't say that. He says, in the name of the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, right? So God is community. God created us to create community. This is really interesting. This is the NIV. Genesis 4:1. Adam made love to his wife Eve. It's a funny way to put it. I like the Bible usually sort of hints at this, but the NIV just kind of comes out and says it. So that's why I chose this translation. Adam made love to his wife Eve, and she became pregnant and gave birth to Cain. What do you have here? It's interesting that not only is God community, but he actually created us with the capacity to create community ourselves. So there's this sort of a biological sort of principle going on here. God, way back in Genesis, called a community. So God looks at the world, it's messed up, and he says, what is the rescue plan? What are we going to do? And he calls who? He calls Abram, later Abraham, right? This is Genesis 12:1, that God said, now the Lord said to Abram, go forth from your country and from your relatives and from your father's house. So now you say, well, that's a one. Abram's a one. We'll go down to verse 5, and there, who did Abram take? He didn't go alone. He went in community, right? It took Sarai, his wife, and Lot, his nephew. Here we've got the three again. And then, of course, Jesus. He comes on the stage, and what's the first thing he does? He creates a community, right? We have the 12. However, at the heart of that, of the 12, was three. Mark 9:2, Jesus took with him Peter and James and John. So you've got this sort of a larger community, the 12, and then you sort of boil that down into the heart of it, that was the three. So it seems to me God really likes community. However, I need 2 points of clarification. First point of clarification. Obviously, I'm not saying community is only three. Right, that's not the point. It's what I'm sort of naming, though, is I think it's helpful to imagine communities as interlocking sets of three. See, we often think of relationships as like one-to-one, like a one-to-one thing sort of going on here. And so I have a relationship with Ryan, and Ryan's friends with Adam, and Adam's friends with Kelly, and sort of this connection, right? But often what that fails to account for is the fact that often the most significant person in a relationship is not just the two people in it, but a third. For example, this is like a common, we've seen this play out a million times, is two people married. It's unstable because twos are unstable. And they're struggling, and they're talking about divorce. All of a sudden, what does she find out? Pregnant. Child is born. Child stabilizes, as if by magic. Child stabilizes the relationship. Child grows up. Child leaves the house. And what happens? And then the divorce, right? It's sort of this 20-year lag time. Why? Well, because the most stabilizing, sort of significant person in that relationship wasn't just the two, but apparently it was this third. So that's the first point of clarification is, yes, of course, communities can get bigger than just, two people or even three people, but it's still helpful to think of them in terms of threes. Second point of clarification. Earlier I said, threes are spectacular. And that is true, but I need to clarify. Threes are either spectacularly brilliant or they are spectacularly awful. Because here's the thing, community, I think, it is a powerful, a nourishing, a healing. It's a force for good in the world. I mean, some of us have been a part of communities that it's like, I came into that community and it's like, it swept me up. Its values, its culture, its relational dynamics swept me up, and I found myself healthier for having been a part of that. See, this is why I think God likes community. He calls community. He blesses it. He's a part of it. However, this is an insight from Paul Tillich. He says, actually, he's talking about institutions, but that's just another word for communities. He says that community has a tendency towards the demonic. What does he mean? He means that when you get groups of humans together and they begin to get infused with anxiety, fear, jealousy, rivalry, suspicion, gossip, anger. I mean, oh no, it just goes haywire. Here's the interesting thing though. It can actually be highly stable. I mean, you try to change that community, good luck. It is highly stable in the midst of its dysfunction. You see what I'm saying? Like, so threes are stable. It's just, and now you say, well, how? Like, why does this happen? Like, why does this happen, and how on earth can we avoid it? Because I don't think this is not, that idea of the communities tending towards the demonic, this is not who we want to be, correct? New Hope Lucas, this is not the track we're going down. So we ask, well, how on earth do we avoid that? And I'll just say this. Community, it's created by the addition of a third. So you got two people, add a third, community. However, community is destroyed whenever I use the third basically as this outlet for my relational issues with the second. Let me say that again. That needs to sink in. So community is created with the addition of a third. Woohoo! But community is utterly destroyed when I use the third as an outlet for my relational issues with the second. And here I'm drawing heavily on a gentleman, two people really. One of them is named Jesus, and we'll get to this passage in a moment. Matthew chapter 18, verse 15. That sort of unpacks this. But also, he's actually a rabbi. His name was Edwin Friedman. He's a rabbi, therapist, and author. And he talks about this idea. This is what he calls relational triangles. Or he calls it triangling. In other words, whenever I have an issue with number one, or I'm with number one, I have an issue with number two, but do I talk to number two? Of course I don't. What do I talk to? I talk to absolutely anyone in the world except number two, and I go to 3 and 4 and 5. You know what I mean? And this is sort of what we do. So here's a few, and he calls that's triangle. I'm forming now a triangle. And so here's a few sort of just examples, like what happens with triangles, like what are the results when we get triangled? First, it lessens for a time the bad vibes between 1 and 2. Have you ever had this? Like you're all angsty, because you just know you're not good with someone. It's just like, it's just eating me up inside. But the idea of actually going to them and talking with them is like, oh, that just makes it worse. Now I feel like I'm going to vomit, right? It's this sort of, I can't do that. So what do? We go to the third, and that, it's like this, everybody say, yes, see, that's what happens when we triangle. We say, on the inside, we say, because now, what's happened though, and this sort of leads me to point number 2, that the reason I say, is because I've displaced, that actually when I talk to the third, it displaces the stress of the relationship onto them. See what's happened? This is why I said, oh, I feel so much better. But what's the third thinking? Oh my gosh, right? Here's the, oh no, what have you done to me? Or maybe it's just so normal. I mean, often we don't even notice. It's just like, yeah, we're just always talking about our issues with everyone. And we don't realize it, though, as we're constantly triangling and constantly sort of infecting other people with our anxiety. Anxiety, I just mean, bad vibes, our negative emotional energy. This can be toxic. Sort of another insight. If the 3 sort of continues to function in that role as sort of, yeah, sure, triangle me, go ahead. If they do that, guess what happens? 1 and 2 never grow up. They'll never mature. Why? They don't have to. Right? No need, because how do we grow? Well, we grow by facing into tough conversations, tough situations, and saying, okay, so this is what I'm thinking. And, we have to share, and then they have to give us feedback, and we have to work through it like big boys and girls, it's really hard. It's not easy, but what happens is when we allow ourselves to be triangled and just continue to function that way, we're actually basically inviting these 2 to stay in their dysfunction. They're just gonna, because they don't have to change, because they have you. See? And then last, 3, so the person who got triangled, the 3 will likely begin to experience signs of burnout as they carry the stress for the relationship. In fact, some of you right now are on the edge of burnout. Burnout's a good word because it doesn't just mean tired, like, oh man, I worked some late hours this week and I need some sleep. Burnout is often, it's an emotional thing. Maybe I've been getting plenty of sleep, but I am dying. Like, I am drained. That's especially when it's chronic, right? Not just one day, but like weeks. Often it's a good time to sort of take an inventory of your relationships and ask the question, have I been triangled? Because it's very possible you, my friend, you are in the midst of a relational triangle, and so you're carrying the stress for the relationship. The problem is you don't actually have any power to change the relationship. You're the 3, only 1 and 2 can change their relationship. And in fact, there's some of us in here who are like sort of hardcore fixers. And so you're almost like inviting the triangles. Like, please triangle me. And I will, come on guys. You're like trying to hold them together. Come on, you 2. Just stop. And actually the best way to kind of get out of the triangle is simply to say, so I'm sorry, but if you're going to talk to me about them, I need to know. I get verbal processing, right? Sometimes we need to verbally process with someone. The thing is, you need to ask them, do you have any intention to go and tell the person what you just told me? And if they don't, you might say, well, you know what? This is what I've done. Maybe this isn't always wise, but at times I've just said, so I'm going to text them in 24 hours. And I'm just going to check to see, hey, did so-and-so talk to you yet? That's a good way to get de-triangled, right? You're giving back here's your relational mess. Here you go, my friends. It's all yours. I'm going to go read books, or something. I don't know, that's what I would do. Maybe you just want to enjoy your life in some other way. But this is sort of what we can do. So I wanted to actually bring up one of my good friends, Josh Runnels. And he is going to sort of share just a story of his own sort of time with a triangle. He's actually kind of in the midst of it now, so it may be one of those sort of stories where, it doesn't have like the nice little bow on it, like, well, this was 5 years ago, and now I've solved all my problems. This is going to be sort of, we're in process here, but I wanted to, talk with him, so can y'all give him a hand as he's coming up here? So, all right, you're on, you're good. Can you kind of share with us a little bit of a triangle recently that you've, sort of found yourself in the midst of?
Sure. So by and large in my life, I've experienced this mainly at work. So that's like a testament to my friends and family, hasn't happened to me very often in that situation. I did have a funny story I wanted to share real quick about when I was a kid, and the one I was like, what if this happened to me? I was like, I don't think it's happened to me when I was, in my family and friends. But I remembered one instance, right, where my mom, she was frustrated with my dad, and like 3 or 4 times we're in the car, and she would like, griping about your dad, blah, 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 right? And I'm like, so like 4 or 5 times into this, I 12-year-old Josh goes, Mom, do you think you should be talking about dad like this in front of me and Stephanie? And she's like, she didn't say anything, and because she loves Jesus, she didn't throw me out of the car. But then she like totally like took it and like ran with it, did the
Yeah.
stuff you said. And I was like, oh, that's awesome. That's probably why I don't do this in my life, right? Because my mom was a good example, right? So, okay, work. Yeah, so there's this like, it's been a situation where it's someone I manage and then someone who's not at the organization more, but I didn't manage, right? And so that's 1 and 2. So one's coming to me constantly with this just frustration about how they're being treated, how they're being communicated with, and so the first time, and I'm fairly new to this situation, so the first time I kind of listen, okay, well, do you think we should talk to them about it? Oh, no, I just needed to like get it off my chest. Okay. Well, then like 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 times, and I'm just like, man, you have to get this off your chest a lot. Like, there's a lot, you know what I mean? You're done. So I didn't know exactly where to go with it, you know what I mean? Like, it just kept happening, and with never wanting to solve it. Like, no, I don't want to talk to them. I just
And like
need
you
to talk to
mentioned,
you about it.
you were new to the organization, so you didn't necessarily feel like you just want to jump in and just, hey, well, just do this and that. And it's sort of a delicate sort
Right.
of relationship.
Right.
Gotcha. How did you end up responding? Like how are you responding? How do you see like sort of a way forward? If that makes
Right.
sense?
Well, ideally, you do what you said, right? You go, well, why don't you talk to number 2 about this directly? Well, you can't make people do that.
Right.
Or then you can you said, well, then I'm going to talk to them for you. And then that feels awkward altogether, right? So I've been thinking about this. Well, what do? I think it's, as a leader, it's about creating that culture. Right? It's setting this expectation. Like, I don't think you can expect someone right off that first bat to be like if you know this is their bad pattern, to be able to like immediately fix it. So you have to start like giving them tools and resources and coaching. I think that's the best way, but you eventually have to set that this is the culture. Like, this is how we're going to behave in this organization.
Yeah. How about for you, like on a personal level, as you've been sort of having to
Right.
be in the midst of this triangle, what's that been?
Well, it's
like,
stressful
that experience?
because you think person 1's miserable, person 2's being a jerk, and you know what I mean? Like, but they're not being a jerk to me, so yeah, it's just this weird thing, because now my perspective on 2 is different, right? Because I've heard all this negative stuff, but I haven't personally experienced it. And so it just puts you in this kind of lose-lose situation, right?
Yeah, yeah. How about any advice just for people if they find themselves sort of in this kind of situation? How do you see like a good way forward in the real world? You know, because mine was
Yeah.
sort of a lot of theory, like this is
Right.
how you do it, just D-triangle, no problem.
Right.
But yeah, would
Right.
you have any sort of advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, I think you just kind of have to take the bull by the horns, unfortunately. Like, especially in if you're in a leadership role, I mean, you have to sort of speak to, these are the values we're going to live by. And if it's not in that situation, you sort of say, this is the values I live by, and I love you, and I appreciate you, and you have to, what is it, the good, bad, good, right? You have to do all that. But in the midst of it, you have to tell them, this is a value of mine, and this just isn't going to work. I mean, and that's hard. You know what I mean? It's just hard to tell, because when it's first happening, you sort of feel like, oh, they're confiding in me. This is so nice. They trust me.
Yeah.
And then 6 months down the road, you're like, I wish they didn't trust me anymore. You know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love that insight you have about sort of personal values versus the cultural,
Right.
because often maybe you're in a setting where that's the culture of the organization you're in is not this. So then it's like, well, what do I do? Well, then you can still name, though, well, this is a personal value for me. This is hugely important, and that carries sway with people.
Right.
It's awesome. Can y'all give Josh a hand? Thanks, man. So I wanted to just sort of close with this passage, going back to Matthew chapter 18. Josh did a great job, huh? He's good. He's one of he's a good friend for me. So this is, I want to go back to this passage, Matthew 18. And I want you to sort of see it through a new light. So if your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. Can you see now where we're going with this? Can you see why this is so important? Because what it doesn't say is, go talk to someone else about the issue, right? Now, later on, we're not actually going to read this, but later on it does discuss, hey, if you go to the person, then if that doesn't work, they're like, well, no, I don't want to do that, or I don't care. It says, well, in the context of the church at least, Go snag a leader, snag someone else you trust, or maybe someone agreed upon third party and have a conversation. But can you see how that's different though than go off, talk to this person in private and over there and then that random person? No. It's if you have an issue, go to them. Go to them. If your brother sins, go and show him his fault in private. And if he listens to you, then you've won your brother. And I think what we have here is just this recipe for a healthy community. And it's interesting because in ways it's so simple, right? It's not like this is not rocket science, but it's because of what we feel in the takes, it is so rare. But what I want you to sort of walk away with today, if I could just sort of boil it down, it would be this, just simply that, like, triangles are good. Community is good. Having relationships with people, that's good. Triangling, not so good. That's not good. That's pulling in people who can't solve the problem, when really what we need to do is business with God and the person. And I think if we do that, what might happen in our lives? What might happen in our relationships? What might happen in this church community if we were able to walk that out? Man, I think that would just be incredibly powerful. So I want to invite you all, just go ahead and bow your heads and close your eyes. And I want to just sort of open up space for you. Right now, as we've been sharing, you might have someone on your mind, a relationship on your mind. And on the one hand, it might be a situation where you have been triangled. You've been the third. And I just want you to just sort of take a moment and just open yourself up to God and just see what he has to say about that. Like, what's he saying? What should you do? How should you handle this? Or perhaps today you've been in this situation where you are the one and you've been pulling in others. You've been sort of the triangler. And just take a moment and just talk to God about that. Just give it to him. If there needs to be some forgiveness, apologizing to God, then just do that. And I just want to encourage you to go and do everything you can to make it right. Relationships matter. Community matters. So God, I ask that you would make us a healthy community, full of life and light and healthy relationships. God, give us the courage to have crucial conversations, often hard conversations. God, would you give us the energy and courage to do that? It's in the name of Jesus that I pray. Amen.
Thanks, Brett. That was so good. Good to remember those principles as we build community here with each other and outside of this community as well. We're going to sing that last song one more time. So it's new for us, and hopefully you kind of had some time to get the melody in your head so that you can sing along, but you're also welcome to just soak it in and enjoy, and then we will go ahead and close out. So Meredith, go ahead and lead us in that one.
Come to the water, all who are thirsty. Come and drink. Come to the table, all who are hungry. Come and feast. Those who are weary, those who are needy, that you are good. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. You're good to me. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. Yes, I will taste and see that you are good. You're good to me. Oh, my soul, it thirsts for you, you alone. Oh, my soul, it thirsts for you, you alone. Oh, my soul, it thirsts for you, you alone. Oh, my soul, it thirsts for you, you alone. Oh, my soul, it thirsts for you, you alone. Oh, my soul, it thirsts for you, you alone.
God, we do invite you into those relationships where we need your vision and your perspective, God. Thank you for welcoming us in all of our issues, God, and all of our relational carnage that we sometimes form, God. Thank you that you can come in and make things beautiful. We trust you to do that in us, God, and through us. Would we be people of peace and people of love and acceptance and forgiveness, God? Thank you so much for these people, God. Would you bless them this week? Help us to invite you in wherever we go. Amen. Thank you guys so much for coming. We're really glad that you were with us today. And happy Mother's Day again to any of you who are moms out there. We have mid-week life groups that meet here in Lucas. So if that's something that you're trying to develop more community, healthy community, maybe a healthy triangle is something you need in your life, those are an excellent place to find it. So please don't forget to check out more information on that and connect with one of those. They're an excellent place to just build friendship and walk out a faith journey together, hopefully in a healthy way. So also, if you need prayer, there's going to be people up at the sides of the stage again today. And if there's anything practically that you're needing, if there's financial issues or some other practical needs that you need help with, we want to be here for you. We want to walk that with you. So please don't hesitate to come out and ask for help. We love you guys, and we just pray blessings on you as you go. And we will see you guys next Sunday or Wednesday if you're at a life group.